loosen up, dance a little bit. Just the two of us.
I'm good.
We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two.
All right, we'll get started pretty soon once she's done with this. One moment.
All right, you guys. So, hello. It's Whitney and Jay. And
Today I'm Chester. Go ahead.
Okay, whatever. Chester and Whitney. So, today we wanted to kind of come to you guys and talk about
Playing your position.
playing your position. So, what does that mean?
So one of the questions we got asked directly was, how do we remain a productive family and how do we get stuff knocked out and continue to do things? But before we get to that though, I would say this much. We've been just the two of us for how long?
Yeah, so we've been just the two of us for about a week and a half now. And right now we are missing our baby.
Yeah.
But you know what, you guys, we said that we were going to go out on date nights. We said we were going to go to the movies. We said we were going to
go to the water park.
Yeah, we said we was going to go to the water park. We said that we were going to do everything that, like, when we have Caleb, we're like, oh, we wish we had a babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we don't have him, it's kind of like we miss him and we just sleep. We watch movies, like, you know, on the couch or something and just go to sleep.
It sounded good, but when we had to actually do it, it didn't work out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're ready to have our baby back, but we are also enjoying our rest. So thank you to the grandparents for that. Anyways, but we wanted to kind of talk about our role in the relationship and how we are able to remain a family unit and help one another with our strengths and our weaknesses. So we kind of just want to keep it real with you guys and just talk about it. So I know when Jay and I, like when we started dating, we were both very stubborn, very headstrong,
We're still like that, but go ahead.
Well, we have learned to compromise, so we'll get to that. But we are we were both just like independent. We were like, this is what we want out of life. You know, who cares what other people think? This is what we want. So as we, you know, kind of matured in our relationship, we started to kind of compromise and learn to work as a family unit and work out and say, okay, well, this is what you're good at, this is what I'm good at, and kind of just make it work as a family.
So before we get to that too, let me just kind of give you an example of what we're talking about. So in the past, like I said, we're both very headstrong. We're still like that now, but we learn how to actually work through it now. But when we're dating, we're both very competitive to the point to where
I always won.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We would even, it was so bad to the point where like we would get out of the car and like whoever was the first one to go to like, you know, the door, we would race there to like see who was the winner. Like
I let him win sometimes. I had to let him win sometimes.
I won all the time.
Come on, you know you can't beat me. I'm fast. What do you mean?
He is pretty fast. His legs are really long, so.
But anyways, going back to the competitive part, it got to the point to where we would get into an argument, we would clash a lot, and instead of actually apologizing, since we were both so competitive, we would wait long periods of time before we would say anything. I think one time in particular, we got in an argument about something that was stupid. Now that I think about it, I don't even know what it was about.
Yeah. I
think we waited like a good 6 days before anyone said anything. And we didn't even apologize. It was more so like, you hungry?
Like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we cool now again? All right, until next time? All right.
Yeah, no, we would hold grudges like it was nothing and just kind of, it didn't help anything. It just, if anything, it kind of pulled us apart from each other where, you know, we just had this like I don't like you anymore or something like that. But, you know, we loved each other to where we wanted to continue to work it out and and see what it was that we were doing and how we can help the situation. And
I would say one time in particular that was like a turning point for me, and I think for both of us where we started working together, it was one argument we were having, something, once again, stupid. We were going back and forth about something. And I remember mid-argument, I wanted to speak my piece. I'm like, I don't care what she's saying. I need to make sure I win this argument, plain and simple. And I remember she looked over to me and she said, you remember what you said? She said, I don't know why we keep having this argument. We're on the same team. I'm not against you.
Yes.
And then at that moment, I looked at him like, man, you're right.
I'm like, we're on the same team. You know, I'm not out here to get you. Like, I'm here to support you. I'm here to just know that I'm here for you, and that whatever we go through it together as a unit, and it's not just that I'm attacking you, you know. So that's something that I think we both had to learn, and just kind of know that the other one is not out to get you, you know. Because I think that the world out there, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're trying to teach that to our son now. But it's kind of like, you don't know what people's intentions are. And so it's like, you have to know, though, that your spouse is here for you. So
I would agree with that.
Love you.
Love you too. So anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand, play your position. So what do we mean by that, play your position? So after we actually started working together as a team and we realized we wanted to move forward, we started analyzing, like, when you think about good companies, good teams, good organizations, a lot of them, they understand different positions, and they understand that people who are in those positions need to do a good job. Like, for these operations and for these different organizations to work, everybody needs to know their role and they need to play it. So Whitney and I came to the table, was like, hey, what is it that we're good at separately, and how can we complement one another? So we started having those type of discussions. So whenever we have anything, any task, anything we need to accomplish, we understand who needs to be the front face to make it happen and who needs to sit back on that one. And sometimes that's me sitting in the back, sometimes that's Whitney sitting in the back, depending upon what it is. So to give you an example of that, when we actually moved from the West Coast over to the East Coast, we're actually living in California. I was in the military. We got out and we had to transfer and actually travel all the way across the country to come over here to Florida in Orlando. And to do that, during that whole time frame, we had to buy a house. We had to plan our trip around the world. We had to actually plan the logistics of getting from that location to over here and all that stuff. So it was a lot of stuff going on. So we sat down and we determined who's strong at what, and we picked our roles.
Right.
So like, what are some of the things you think we did?
So I think for us, like, just from our house search to, and then as you guys know, we was also in House Hunters. So we had a lot going on all at once, to where, we had to each play our roles so that we can keep our family together, because it could get kind of crazy when you have a lot going on. So for instance, with our trip from California to Florida, Jay was the one to kind of do the whole logistics of, like, okay, we're going to spend so much time on the road. We're going to hit this state. We're going to hit this state. Like, he actually mapped it out. He's very much a type A, where, like, he has to kind of write it out. He had a whole app that would, tell us, okay, if you're wanting to go from maybe New Mexico to, like, I don't know, Texas or something like that, like, this is the route that you need to go. Like, he was all about it. So he basically did all of that.
So I cut it down by days, I cut it down by hours, each location we're gonna get into, when should we move on from that location, around what time.
He was that.
I'm a planner, I'm an engineer, so that's kind of like,
yes,
I love numbers and spreadsheets.
Him. So I was like, hey, babe, have it all, that's you. I was more of the one that, as far as the activities that we were going to do. So, I mean, with this kind of trip, you have to keep it fun, because, I mean, you have a toddler riding with you, you know? So being in a car for however long, from California to Florida, you can imagine that I was like, okay, I have to plan out something. So every place that we were going to hit, he told me, and I was like, okay, well, let me start researching what is there to do in this, location, and what is it that's family fun, and not just like for us to have fun, but also for our child. So it was just, I'm more of the type that, let me, like, once the planning, that kind of planning is done, let's plan this too. So, like, even when we go on, like, our trips together, like, I'm the one to kind of find something, like, fun for us to do, something, like, I don't know, different and just fun. So I'll research it in that area once I know, like, where we're going, and we come together and figure that out. But just kind of planning all of that, that's my role there.
I would say you're the realist too. So, and a lot of times I can get stuck in my head sometimes. So if I'm planning something out, I want to plan perfectly. And I think sometimes I get to the point to where I try to plan so much where I don't realize we have to actually make actionable items at that time to move forward. So Whitney will come around sometimes and say, hey, I understand what you're saying. All this plan is good. I like it, but we need to start moving. We need to make some stuff happen. So I appreciate that. Sometimes it's like, hey, take your head out the clouds.
Right.
Let's make this happen. What are some of the things we need to do right now to start moving? We can keep planning, but let's start moving.
Right. Yeah. So. Jay has he has so many great things in store for the family, and I'm the one to always kind of say, okay, well, you have this great thing going. Let's here, this is what you kind of need to do, or like I'll give suggestions to kind of keep him on that track to stay where the goal is, what our goal is. So yeah, I would say I would do that too. Yeah, I mean, we work together. There's other, instances and stories that we have that
we'll get into that in other videos as well. But I would say for this one is more so like for this topic today, it's know your position, play your position. I think with us, we've determined that. We sat down with one another, and we actually do this quarterly. So whenever we have our goals or something we want to discuss, we'll sit down and say, what do we need to do for this? What roles are we going to play, and how are we going to move forward with? And I think the discussion is very important, and I think that helps out a lot. Like just knowing what we're going to do and what roles we're going to take on. Like it alleviates a lot of stress because I'm not responsible for this, so let me do this really well because I know this is what I need to do for our family to make this happen, and then we can move forward. And I think it's been helping us out all of this time up until this point as well. And I think we're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like these are we appreciate you guys. Continue to ask us the questions. We want to answer all of them. So if you have any other questions like this, continue to ask us. You can hit us up via Facebook, Instagram, direct message, or whatever the case may be. Whatever you want us to answer, let us know, and we'll keep answering these as time goes on.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, you guys. We appreciate all the support that you guys have given us, and we want to continue to make these videos because, I mean, life is not easy. So, and relationships are not easy too. So we definitely know that, and we want to continue to kind of just relate our stories to you guys so that, because you may be going through it or you may have questions or something of that nature. So we're just here to kind of work it out together.
Learn from one another.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
So if you guys have some suggestions on what you guys do for your family, we would love to hear that too.
So remember that, as we said, play your position, figure out what that is with your significant other, make it happen, and know your roles, define your roles, and move forward with it. And I think it'll make it that much easier. You're not butting heads on a lot of stuff. Everybody knows what their responsibility is, and you can move out and make stuff happen.
Right. All right. We'll catch you guys on another time.
Matt Memories.
Matt Memories. Bye.